Let your curiosity rise.
Madbricks webcast,
Where the human spirit flies. Madbricks webcast. Where the human spirit flies.
Hey, welcome to the Medbix Cast. This is Raman Annamaraju. I'm the host. Big title. It's not a big deal. But let me bring my co-host, Queen. She's the queen of the show. Beautiful, bold, and brainy. Dr. Susan Davis. Welcome, Susan. So you went.
Hey, Ramon. Yes, being the host is a big deal. Give me a break.
So you went through a lot of tours, right? You were in the holidays, and you went to Cincinnati, San Antonio. You did all over the country, running around, right?
All over the place, but nothing like good old South Florida. However, it's been a little chilly down here the last few days, so it's good to be home. It's very good to be home.
That is surprisingly cold up there. Let me ask you a question. Even in Silicon Valley, we don't have it's kind of gloomy weather nowadays. But you started a campaign, right? Upon campaign, Go Red campaign. I attended a party in Atlanta one time, Go Red party, one of the restaurants, and we supported Save the Heart Foundation or something like that, American Red Cross Society, American Heart Association. At the time I attended. Tell us a little bit about that. What are you doing?
Yeah, so it's a very, very exciting time for me. I was nominated by the American Heart Association here in Southwest Florida as the 2026 Woman of Impact. So what that means is, yay, you are awesome. We think you're awesome, but now you got to prove it. So it's actually a 9-week campaign where we as a group, not only in Southwest Florida, but across the country, where we raise awareness and funds that support cardiovascular health for women, cardiovascular health, innovation, education, you name it. It really puts women at the forefront for both cardiovascular. So not only, heart attacks, but acute heart attacks. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say, strokes, heart attacks, and then where my neck of the woods is cardiac arrest. So I feel very honored to take this position on. So yes, just today I announced it to the world. I'm building my team. Anyone can be on the team. And then it doesn't launch until February 5th. And then every week for 8 weeks, there'll be a theme where we will bring in the country and really lean into the awareness around this topic.
One of the powerful features on this platform is you can raise money through this. Actually, they can click on it and raise the money here, right here. It goes straight to you. So I'm going to show you soon on that one.
So stand by, listeners. I'll be getting us a clip box here by the time when we start rolling out February 6th. Well, so that'll be our first time, the week of the 9th.
You look wonderful. You look wonderful. You're trying to be wonderful to the people. That's good. Everybody is ready to. We have our favorite guest today, Dr. Suresh Mukherji, the frequent guest on the show. He was one of my first guests, actually, on the Medbrick show. At the time, we didn't know what we were doing at the time. I have no clue. So it's just, it was a very raw show that I did with one of the first ones I did with Dr. Mukherji. After that, he came on several times, and we're really very curious man. And one of the things I liked about him is even though he's a very accomplished radiation oncologist, he's very curious. Let me bring him to the table. He has published 400 papers, 13 textbooks. He has a long resume. He's a professor of radiation and radiation oncology. Welcome, Dr. Suresh Mukherji. Welcome to the Medbix Cast.
Hey, Ramana, how are you? Can you see me okay?
Yeah, we see you okay. Yes.
Great. Okay.
You look a brand new look you have.
Well, just for clarification, I'm a neuroradiologist, and I have a joint appointment in radiation oncology. So just to clarify that. Make sure. And also I have new lighting thanks to Susan. She gave me some ideas and a new microphone so you can hear me better. And and see me better. Although I've been told, what's that old joke? I have a face for radio and a voice for television, right? I don't know if you've heard that.
No, that's baloney. No way. Looking good. I
It's
love
all it's all illusion that we create. Um, so let me ask you, Doug. You're we talked about it. We want to talk about cancer prevention. All over the world, cancer is growing every unprecedented rate. In India, where we come from, India is young people are attacking the cancer all over the world. The cancer is becoming bigger problem. Is the detecting more cancer, or is happening more cases? What is your take on that?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks again for having me. And part of the way we decided to come on this topic is with me being a radiologist and a neuroradiologist, and then also I was involved in the American Joint Cancer Committee staging system for 20 to 25 years. We slowly made the transition from just looking at cancers through a microscope to really understanding the molecular basis of cancers. So there's a lot of enthusiasm right now to look for specific biomarkers and also to look for specific enzymatic pathways and cell surface receptors that are unique to cancers and that are not seen on our normal cells. And that brought in the era of immunotherapy. So all you really have to do is, you don't need to have gone to medical school or do a residency or a fellowship in cancer care, cancer treatment, to be exposed to immunotherapies. All you have to do is watch the evening news. And because of what we learned from Viagra, from business to consumer marketing, now you just watch the evening news and you hear about these medications like Keytruda, various other types of treatments, and you're supposed to be asking your doctor about that. And so the way we sort of fell upon this topic is, I know that you and I, Ramana, had talked about some of the new advanced techniques that we could pick up cancers at the cellular level. And before we go down that path, I think it's as important right now in our society that our system is set up such as we take care of the sick. But really what I'd like to do is just remind people and have the conversation that really the best cure for cancer is to not get it. It's the prevention of cancer. So, and that's why I wanted to at least have this conversation, because, even though I'm just a neuroradiologist, I read x-rays and PET CTs and MRIs and so on and so forth. I still see patients once a week. So I'm with a team of surgeons and radiation oncologists, and we go in and see the patients. And especially with me living in Indiana, and I have to show my jacket here, that's Indiana University. So the Indiana University Hoosiers, where my son's in medical school right now, we just won the national championship. So Hoosiers. So I had to say that.
Go Hoosiers.
I attended a Ball State, if you don't know, but I attended a Ball State.
Right. Yeah, go Cardinals. I think it's something like that, right? So what I wanted to do, though, was, when I go in, and what really was I don't know if the right word inspired me, but compelled me to at least try to convince you, if you're going to invite me to discuss this topic, is when I see these patients on Wednesdays, and I see patients that have these massive cancers involving their jaw. And then we ask them, well, do you chew tobacco? Say, yeah, I chew tobacco. Or when I see patients from India and they have these cancers involving their cheek and they're sucking on betel nut. And then I see these people that, hardworking people that are out on the farm, or maybe they're on construction, and they present with these scalp cancers. And sometimes they'll forget to cover their ears. And I've seen so many ear cancers, and then you have to end up treating their ear or sometimes removing their ear. It just compelled me to say, hey, why don't we spend a little bit more time discussing on personal empowerment and the decisions that we can make, such as we can make our own decisions and create our own risk profile regarding what risk do we want to take individually to get cancer. So for instance, I always joke, I think when the iPhone came out, we're sort of in the me generation, right? It's all about me. I have everything on my phone. I have my apps, everything personalized to me. I can check my finances on the phone. I can make trades on the phone. But I think now we have the opportunity, because we know much more than we did 20, 30 years ago when I was your age, Romana. We know a lot more about cancer prevention now than we used to. So why not have the conversation right now and at least discuss with individuals what they can do to prevent the cancer? So to answer your question specifically, it's a combination. So one of the nice things that's happening is that the incidence of certain types of cancers that are actually decreasing. So for instance, there's been a big public health push for lung cancer. So clearly people are smoking less, so there has been a decreased incidence of lung cancers because of smoking. Having said that, what's the paradox that you kind of refer to is with breast cancer. So now 1 in 6 women, sometimes 1 in 5 women, depends on the statistic you look at, are diagnosed with breast cancer. Now, does that mean that they're developing more breast cancers, or is the fact that we're picking it up earlier? So sometimes there is a debate in the breast cancer literature and the breast cancer organizations is screening works. You do detect more breast cancers, the outcomes are better, but is the incidence going up in some reports because we are doing things that are increasing the likelihood that we're going to develop breast cancer? Or is the screening just getting better and we're just detecting more cancers than we were before because of our advanced technologies and better public health notifications?
Well, where are you going to begin with
this is
this?
your
Well,
field.
where
No.
are you going to begin with this? Because it's infinite. It's infinite. And how far upstream can we get? Obviously, that would be the goal. Like in my world, the best cancer is the cancer that we don't get. How far upstream can we get when we are literally onslaughted in every single one of our senses, in our sight, our smell, our touch, our hearing, and our taste, by toxicities that are, just literally everywhere. So you have to have a starting place, a starting point, something that is really tangible, something that's really easy that people can choose. And I as a nurse, I deal with diet and exercise and lifestyle and epigenetics on every single day. But there is definitely a meeting point that where do you want to begin, Dr. Mukherji, with this conversation? We've all heard it, right? Diet and exercise and get your sleep and take your vitamins and take your minerals. Does anyone hear that anymore?
Well, Susan, at times I'm not 100% sure because, in the societies that we live in, we are individuals and make our own decisions. And I think, most people know that if you smoke, you're going to develop lung cancer. That's fine. But what kind of surprised me is that, again, I'm not just really targeting at someone as learned as yourself who probably knows as much about this, if not more than me. But it's really the sort of the person that's out there and probably heard bits and pieces. So, one thing that I did want to start off with, and this is from the World Health Organization, is that they estimate that 30 to 50% of cancers may be prevented by altering lifestyle. That's 30 to 50% of all types of cancers. And lung cancers don't comprise 30 to 50%, which means there's a lot of other types of cancers in which we as individuals can empower ourselves and make decisions not to get those. So again, I'm not here to preach at anyone. We're all individuals, we're all adults, we all make our own decisions. But what I did want to do is increase the visibility of some of the things that I didn't even know about that are, again, associated. And there is a difference between causation and association. So with myself, who has written, a modicum amount in my career, I know sometimes what you write can sometimes be misinterpreted. So when I see information like 30 to 50%, does that mean those are actual cancers that are cause and effect, or is it actual cancers that have an association? I think it's really more of an association. So what I mean by that is, for instance, we know that alcohol increases the likelihood of certain types of cancers. So that includes things like head and neck cancers, which I deal with, the mouth and the larynx and the esophagus. But I really didn't know that alcohol was associated with colon and rectal cancer. And certainly I knew it was associated with liver cancer. Susan, you kind of touched on this before, and I didn't really understand the impact that obesity had. And so I knew that it was associated with a higher incidence of breast cancer in postmenopausal women because obesity increases the level of estrogen. And so if you have higher estrogen in postmenopausal women, there's a higher incidence of breast cancer. So that I didn't know. But for instance, I had no idea that obesity did have an association with certain types of brain cancers, and specifically meningiomas, which by and far tend to be benign. But there's also an association between myeloma, kidney cancer, uterine cancer, thyroid cancer, which I never knew about. Then we talked specifically about things like infection. And so I did specifically want to discuss and really advocate when we talk about lifestyle choices is vaccination. So right now, vaccination is a very, very hot topic. And I want to make sure that people understand that there are certain viruses, and we all get viruses. We're in the flu season right now, but there are certain types of viruses that truly do cause cancer. And the term that we use for that are oncoviruses. So for instance, the oncovirus that probably is one of the most, I don't want to say necessarily controversial, but there has been a lot of debate, is the HPV vaccine.
Yeah.
So HPV is associated with cervical carcinoma, but with me being on the AJCC staging system, the cancer system, about 10 years ago, we discovered a new type of cancer, and that's throat cancers that occur in men that are associated with the HPV virus. So the bottom line is HPV is what we refer to as an oncovirus. There's a direct causation with certain types of throat cancer. It is a sexually transmitted disease, but it is preventable if we do vaccinate our kids in adolescence, or really that guidelines is kind of up to the actual age, I think varies, but I think it's something that if you want to make a personal choice and try to prevent your kids from getting cancer, that's one of those. So let me just stop right there and let you react to some of the things that I mentioned.
Well, I don't know if people directly correlate vaccines to cancer and prevention. And so I think this is a very important conversation. Now, well, and okay, I'll go back just a little bit further based on what you just discussed. And, the 30 to 50%, I would argue, without having a research journal in front of me, that our diet and lifestyle would be 30 to 50% of any and all disease can be affected, regardless of what you want to call it. So your specialty is oncology. And so I can see how those numbers would be very pertinent. But I still think if we take care of our mind, body, and soul to the best of our ability, that 30 to 50% of all diseases would be better, regardless of what you want to call it. But let's go back to the vaccines. Did I read correctly? Is the Hep B vaccine series, is that also helping with, is it liver cancer?
Yeah, exactly right. The fancy term for liver cancer is what we refer to as hepatocellular cancer. And so, before we had that much understanding, we knew that patients that were drinkers would develop cirrhosis. And when they developed cirrhosis, they had a higher likelihood of developing hepatocellular carcinoma. But now it has been specifically linked to certain types of hepatitis, and that's hepatitis B and also hepatitis C. So there are vaccines to prevent against hepatitis. So again, that is a specific cause and effect that we can prevent if we do take the vaccines to prevent us getting from hepatitis B and C. So again, a personal choice, but again, that is a specific oncovirus.
So are we then, Dr. Mukherji, are we leaning towards this personalized medicine approach towards oncology treatments? Are we going to be making personalized vaccines based on a patient's genetic profile in the future or soon?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if specifically we're going to be making vaccines. There are certain therapies right now that are specifically tailored to one's individual immune system. So the classic one that we look at is the CAR T therapy. So CAR T therapy is where you take your own individual T cells and you, for lack of a better term, modify them such that it can attack any type of hematologic or for lymphoproliferative disorder. So typically it's lymphoma or leukemia. So you can take your own cells and actually modify those so it attacks that tumor in your body. That's not necessarily a vaccine, but we are getting into that. And that's a very, very targeted, very personalized, very individual type of treatment. So we are getting into that right now.
And are they intending to bring that in sooner? I mean, last I heard, when several cancer rounds with several patients and friends and family members, immunotherapy tend to be a last resort. It seems as if it's coming in earlier in treatment plans. Is that the case?
Yeah, there's several cancers right now in which immunotherapies are actually first line. And the one that's probably the biggest right now are patients with certain types of skin cancer. So certain types of squamous cell carcinomas, but also melanomas. So melanomas have a specific mutation. And my gosh, some of the results from melanoma right now being treated with some of these immunotherapies that are specifically looking at BRAF mutations, really the responses have been quite dramatic. The majority of immunotherapies right now are probably, I would say, second line therapies, especially in patients that have recurrent tumors. But for me, being really more focused on head and neck, there are certain trials right now in which they're specifically using certain types of immunotherapies as front line. So before they kind of get released to general public, we want to make sure that there is truly efficacy using these new treatments compared to the standard of care, because you don't want to go backwards. If you are going to introduce a new therapy, you want to make sure that it's equal to or efficacious or better. If it's equal to, then maybe the outcomes may not be better from a survival standpoint, but maybe the morbidities would be less. So those are some of the trials that are going on right now.
That's very exciting. You never hear anything positive about melanoma. I mean, like, never. That's just a bad dog. I mean, you don't want to have a melanoma. Would you say that in this discussion, how prominent would you think, there's so many waves of diet choices for people, and one of the first ones that comes up when you hear, okay, I've got cancer, and people say, oh, no sugar for you, starve that cancer, no sugar. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know about this starve or not, but I think what I would say is I completely agree with you. When it comes to this type, and I want to phrase it properly, as physicians trained in the United States, we are, I don't want to necessarily say transactional, but if someone does have a cancer, we have certain ways to treat this. And oftentimes we forget about the patient, and we forget about all the other things that we can do to try to improve the outcomes of those patients. So for us, and for me, and as a radiologist and who's focusing on head and neck, we tend to focus on the medications and the innovations in medications and the innovations in diagnosis. But what I have learned through my work with really outside of medicine and working with my healthcare purchasers and payers and others is that I think as much, number one, you have to have confidence in the doctor that's treating you. Number two, you have to have an incredible support system with your families. Number three, I think as anything else, nutrition is so important. In any way that you can try to maintain your healthy balance, continue to eat right. I don't know about sugar versus no sugar, but anything that you can do that can help you maintain a normal diet and more of a healthy diet is incredibly important. And then at times, I think, I think part of it, and Susan, I think you hit on this too, is that we tend to underestimate the stress that we have in our lives and how that can reduce our own body's ability to fight cancer. And that really is the immune process that you were referring to. So for instance, I think one thing that people tend to underestimate is the support system at your work. So let's just say if you're the breadwinner of your family and you're going to work, some people may actually have a very bad health disorder, maybe cancer, and they won't even tell their employer. Because if they tell their employer, it's possible they may get put on medical leave, they'll have a stigma about them, they may lose their jobs. And in a way, I think when we talk about support system, yes, we sort of default to the family and our friends, but I think just as important for those that are or may listen and that are in leadership positions is to understand there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of emotions that go through having cancer, both physical and emotional. But as an employer and a leader in your company, I think you also have to provide the support at a professional level to ensure that employee who may be the only breadwinner, you don't know where their kids are in life, what their constraints are financially, is to support that individual too. And I think that having that support adds into everything else. It reduces the stress, and it actually may help that individual fight cancer as well.
Can you even imagine trying to tuck that in on the daily, something as huge as cancer, like, and pretending as if it's not happening to you when you go to work? That alone, I just can't even imagine not having that support system. It is the diagnosis to yourself, the mental health that it causes for it to settle in that it's you, not your neighbor, not your cousin or your brother, it's you. What does that mean? Can you trust? Where do you go? If you go to this specialist, does that mean I can go to the one closer to home? How am I going to do these treatments? I mean, the logistics of just the treatments and the decision and the deciding making, and then having something like that at work as well, where you won't be supported, would just be horrifying. So that's a really good point that I don't think has been talked about enough, is having not only the support in your home and in your family, but in your workplace too.
I'm listening in the backstage, but both of you talking very interesting talk. I know she asked a good question, Dr. Mukherjee. One is that there is a myth. If you eat sugar, stop the sugar. It is a myth or real. It has any impact on real medical clinical science?
Well, I think if you overdo something, everything's going to be bad. So I think a little sugar is good in the amounts, but I think what is important is, I think, again, when it gets to personal empowerment and personal choices, is, if you are diagnosed with something, make sure to avoid the activity and the behavior that put you at higher risk for developing that cancer.
On that boat.
I can't imagine. I still see patients that were smokers that develop mouth cancers and then still go back to chewing tobacco or smoking or something like that, which to me is mind-boggling. So, those are all things that it's sort of common sense, but on the other hand, it's just astounding to me when people continue to do that. Now, I will say something. I think if you do have a stage 4 cancer and you're terminal, then I don't think it's going to make a difference if you have 3 months to live. I think you can do whatever. But if you're actively engaged in your treatment plan, you have ownership and you have been involved in the shared decision-making regarding your treatment, and you have common goals that you want to obtain that you've discussed with your treating physicians, then you should use your own personal empowerment to try to prevent and stop doing what put you at greater risk for developing that cancer.
Yeah, and cancer is a beast. Cancer is just a horrific beast on your physical body and your mind, as we know. But it comes in waves where when you have the time to make better decisions, whether it be lower sugar or cut out the junk, whatever it may be, and then one day it turns into, you know what, I really don't want to eat. I don't. My body is telling me that I don't want to eat. I can't eat, and then we're going to go the other direction, and we tend to go pretty quickly to how can we preserve. Because we might be overdoing whatever it may be, and then the next thing you know, we can barely, keep the ship aright. And next thing you know, we're flipping over because muscle wasting, body wasting, your gut, none of it is working well, and we go the other direction. So it's a terrible balancing act. And I guess from a healthcare person perspective and a nurse who's watched every stage of the healthcare journey, we just pray people choose the apple over the burger at some point, in a walk rather than the hitching a ride for 2 blocks. Just the common sense, move more, love more, laugh more, sleep more, eat better, be kind, love, laugh. These things really can be some of the best cancer preventions there are.
With all these things, again, I'm in Silicon Valley. There is a famous guy who died with a pancreatic cancer, Steve Jobs. And I have a good attorney friend. He's attorneys are not great friends, but he's truly a good friend of mine, Roger Roy. He declared on the public side, but they got this pancreatic cancer. It's a very they maintain a good lifestyle, and they are exercising every day. They are maintaining good. Still, they get this kind of. what do you think? Where do we, where the, I'm a physicist. I need to know the cause, the mechanisms are missing here. As a force, the physicists don't sleep because they want to find out what is the force, unifying force for gravitation, electromagnetic force, strong force, all the forces. There must be one force running the whole universe. We want to find out. People don't sleep on that one. They struggle every day. But cancers, you have like 100 cancers there, and we don't know where it starts, what it does, what the cellular mechanism. What we are missing here?
Well, I think part of it is, part of the reason I wanted to at least have this conversation regarding personal choices and empowerment is that we tend to link all cancers together. So, for instance, you mentioned pancreatic cancer. So, pancreatic cancer is typically associated with alcoholism or heavy drinking, and there are certain types of pancreatic cancer that are directly associated with that. So, when it comes to lifestyle changes and choices, not only does increased alcohol consumption increase the likelihood of esophageal cancer and developing cirrhosis and hepatocellular cancer and head and neck cancer, but it's also pancreatic cancer. But that is one type of pancreatic cancer. So, for instance, unfortunately, over the holidays, that's another reason it's top of my mind. One of my uncles was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and 4 days later ended up having what we refer to as a Whipple's procedure, where part of the pancreatic head was removed. Now, by his own admission, he liked to drink. That was his own personal choice. Now, getting back to specifically to Steve Jobs, that's a different type of pancreatic cancer. My understanding, that was what we refer to as a neuroendocrine cancer. And so I think he was just one of the things that's just bad luck. Like I said, maybe 30 to 50% have some type of direct link or association with some thing that we can control in our behavior. But I think in his standpoint, unfortunately, it was unavoidable. Having said that, there are now new treatments that have shown promise for that specific type of cancer, which is a neuroendocrine cancer. So there are new technologies and Ramani, with you being a physicist, referred to as theranostics, in which neuroendocrine cancers have a specific cell surface receptor called somatostatin receptors, the SSTR receptors, and it's 1 through 4, I believe. So now we actually have the ability to use our nuclear medicine imaging agents, find what that receptor on the tumors actually bind to. So you can actually have a receptor that targets that specific type of tumor so we can see it on imaging. And then what we can do is attach a little bit of a killer radionuclide to it. And because it's so specific for targeting that type of tumor, it is possible to treat that with a new type of technique that we refer to as theranostics. So my sense is that when he was first diagnosed with it, I never read his book, but I think when he was diagnosed, he elected at that time to be treated holistically and not necessarily with the standard of care at that time. And unfortunately, I think the cancer spread to his lungs. But now, I think if that happened now, there are more innovative ways that we could treat that specific type of cancer and prevent it's his unfortunate outcome.
Dr. Mukherjee, that you are going to India soon. I heard that you are going to India next month, in the beginning of the month. I'm going to present a topic on India a little bit, so it will give you a little bit of an interesting topic. Let me bring you there, and I can talk a little bit pleasant surprise for you later on. So let me bring you all together on the side. Okay, good. This is the rural India. I'm going to talk about three rural silent heroes of the medicine, in my view. One of them is related to me. I want to talk with my village first. Then it's better to explain India a little bit. 70s and 80s, my village is. That's my village on the left side. There's a lot of beautiful place, a picturesque place, and it is a palm trees and coconut trees. And then there's no electricity, no running water. We go to wells and take the water. That's all we do. So my immune system is like stronger than anything else, Dr. Mukherjee. So I will dust. I don't know whether you're born in India or not, but you're born here is a different immune system we have. So you're born in India, Dr. Mukherjee. Where were you born?
I was actually born in England. So my parents were from the old country, but I was born in England.
Okay, so it's very different Western. So India, you are exposed to every kind of a disease. So there's my transportation from my village is the wagons that I used to do. I used to hang around with I used to go with my mom when I was a kid. That is we are 50 years behind India. Our village was. So the plowing and that's agriculture is a basic economy there. And then we have Russian tractors, very popular at the time. Russia was a big influence in Indian rural villages at the time. That's why Russia has still some people love Russia because of that reason. Hospital, there is no hospital in our place and non-existent healthcare. There is no doctors except that is a one or two doctors, local doctors. Life was born, midwives or they deliver babies at home. You know, my brothers are all born in home. And actually, is they were all born in home. So they midwives are actually not trained. Even there's a moms who are experienced. They became midwives, and it's such a luck. So it shows that it shows other way around also. You don't need that much of a fantastic life to be born. Life has given, the universe has given the life is a resilience. You don't need all these fancy hospitals and everything, they say, but life was natural in general, right, Susan? So we have a typhoid, malaria, cholera. These are the topical diseases. Parasite and bacterial, all of them, common diseases there. One of my village biggest problem in my village is cobra bites. A lot of people died. Cobra bites are very common in the fields. They go and when they're cutting the rice, then they hold that snake and then it bite them and they die. So it's a big problem. We don't have a antivenom at that time. It's a village. There's no way access to antivenom. Suicides are very, very rare. They used to take a fertilizer and die. In my entire life, maybe one suicide I saw that, but not many. But cobra bites are very, very common. Um, I used to watch the cobra dancing. I saw so many cobras in my life when I was a kid. The healthcare in the villages is the bicycle. My father used to ride a bicycle. So that is actually healthcare is delivered through a lot of these village doctors go to the house and they check everything and then check the lungs and temperature and everything, and then give basic medicine, infection like a penicillin or injection or some kind of pain aspirin or something. It's not much of a band-aid, all those things. It's not much of a tools there available at the time. So it is a bicycle thing. So healthcare delivery, now we are talking about healthcare at home, is actually India did already. Diagnosis and treatment and prognosis, they're all done at home. You don't need a lot of these chronic diseases can be managed at home. That's one of the things we can adopt that. But so how do you get paid? My father, I will tell you about this. No insurance, right? They used to do puja. Indians do puja like a Durga Puja in Bengal, and Indians, we are doing such a puja is a religious ceremony, Susan. And then all these people give gold, cash, gold, sometimes silver. All the patients, poor patients give a little bit cash, and during the harvest season, and then gold, silver, they drop a lot of vegetables in my house. We are vegetarians at the time. At least we are all vegetarians, but I became different now, messed up. So that was our lifestyle. So my father is a doctor. He is an English teacher, and he was teaching high school English. There's no doctor there. So my grandfather was in a small village. Is my father's my mother's side of the father was practicing a few miles away from my village. So he was a doctor there. My father reads English, so he became inspired, and then he started reading medical journals. He is a curious man. He spent we never seen him without a book. He was reading non-stop medical journals, self-taught, he treated the town. He was he's an English teacher, and he became a doctor on his own, and self-taught doctor, and he really healed that village. We don't have any other choices other than coming to people like one or two people like my father who can treat these villagers. So they save lives in the bike. He used to go to bicycle. I remember I went with him a couple of places. And then we had a big cabinet. All the medicines he was there, and I used to see that. That was a very inspiration to me. My father's dedication to medicine. So my father really, he was a teaching English and medicine. Is a small village we are in. He inspired several people in that village, to become a doctors. They're all over the world now. He inspired so many doctors to become a doctors. And one of the students built a big hospital in my village, Bhimvaram is that is called, where Navi is from. That hospital was built by one of my father's student. So it is a really, my father was inspirational. He's a teacher, doctor extraordinaire. I miss him. Really curiosity is his curiosity is in the blood, in the genes. There was another woman I want to mention is India. You don't know in India, Susan. This is India a long time ago. India changed quite a bit. It was untouchables. Gandhi in 1947, 1940, before 1900. There are untouchables. Humans cannot be touching other humans. It's a very strange concept. But for those people, there is nobody will touch. The doctors will not touch. Nobody will take care of them. So this woman became star of that people and delivered 15,000 babies. She delivered, in the southern part of India, Sulageti Narasimha, mother of forgotten woman. These are all poor people. They're all some of the. There are some few African Americans. Sorry, few Africans were there. They bought by ship by England. English people bought the ship, a small ship. So there was a lot of leftover. That ship was broken. There were some Africans who left her in India, in some parts of India. Nobody wants to do anything, care for them. So she jumped in. She provided care for them. She delivered babies for all of them. It's an amazing woman, and she was Sulageti Narasimha. She died recently. She lived now almost 100 years. So Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of India, gave a civilian highest honor for her, Padma Shri Award, and he paid a very special tribute for her dedication to the cause of the care system. I'm going to talk about another doctor with the same name as my father. He is from the same town as mine. I'm going to tell you about him a little bit. He's an unknown, famous man. A lot of people don't know. He's the first chemotherapy drug he found. First broad spectrum antibiotic. In my intro video, I mentioned his name. I didn't mention his name, but I showed his picture in the intro video. He's the first broad spectrum antibiotic. First strip test, he indirectly invented. First tropical drug. World Health Organization essential list. All his medications are still there. Who is this man? His name is Allapragada Subbarao. He was born in 12 January 1895. I'm going to tell you, 1895 he was born. At that time, India was under British rule. He was born in my village, my town. Actually, this town is my hometown, but actually my father is working in a village, so it's like 5 miles away from this village where Navia works for me from this town. Now it is like a big town. Somaramam is the gods, Lord Shiva's, one of the 5 temples. So it is one of them. My village is one of the houses of the Lord Shiva. That's Hindu religious thing. So that's Bhimvaram is called. So that is very from. We are all from the same tribe. We are from. In 100 years ago, he finished his medical degree in India, in Chennai, Madras at that time. And then he came to Harvard in 1920. Your same alumni, Dr. Mukherji. He came to Harvard 1923. He did the topical medicine there 100 years ago. And then he was publishing papers. He was not that smart when he was in India. All of a sudden he became smarter here. Then everybody wants him. He published a lot of papers. Then Lederle Labs asked him to lead the Lederle Labs in 1930s, 40s. He was the first Indian, probably, that director of the lab, Lederle Labs in Pearl River, New York. He became a he became, his inventions, I'm telling you, his inventions are unbelievable. It's a phosphate color test. He created a phosphate color test. Phosphate is a mineral after the calcium is the second biggest mineral, right? Alcoholism is talking. Dr. Mukherjee is talking about alcoholism and all those things. Phosphate is one of the problem. So you can test it. He didn't invent the strip test by itself, but he invented the color test that eventually led to the strip test. He also did a lot of work on the ATP cellular energy side. He did a lot of work on it. He was was one of his inventions. The second invention is Hitazone tablets. The world essential drugs. These are all eosinophilic, a tropical disease, lymphatic filariasis. I think is all like the swelling of the legs and all those things. I don't know much about it. Maybe Dr. Mukherjee can tell. But these are the tablets solve the problems. A lot of these things really he discovered these tablets and he invented and he's a biochemist. He's a doctor. So the second invention is Hetazone tablets really saved lots of millions of people. The third one is the mother of all his inventions. In 1940s, the child leukemia in the United States, methotrexate. He was the inventor of the methotrexate. People don't know this, but Dr. Yellappada Subbarao was inventor of the methotrexate, the chemotherapy targeted drug. He invented in 1940s. So then he didn't stop there. That is the mother of all his inventions. He saved so many thousands of children, child leukemia. Then fourth one, first broad spectrum antibiotic he invented. He discovered iromycin first in the Lederle labs. He was just discovered and then approved by FDA. Iromycin. He did on the Bronx Hospital. Actually, he did a first thing for syphilis and all those diseases. He did a clinical trial. Nobody wants to give him a place for clinical trials. He did in the Bronx Hospital. He first broad spectrum antibiotic. He did that. He invented 4 of them, world-changing, life-changing worlds. But he got no Nobel Prizes. Still, people talk about him particularly in the cancer, particularly in the other side. Lederle Labs. He was a director of the Lederle Labs. He had a lot of people. He died at the age of 53 in his sleep, with a heart attack. He died. So Lederle Labs was acquired by Pfizer now. The Pfizer really there is a memorial plaque on his name, Yellappada Subbarao. It says his name was. He has a plaque up there, and he has some of the pathogens or something named after him, and all those. He has He was 1948. He died. So a lot of people at that time there's no press, but there is a Jewish press said that because he lived longer. That's what the New York Tribune gave a eminent minds of the century, medical minds of the century. He was one of the brilliant man. Invented all of them. People don't know. Regeneron. I spoke with Regeneron, head of the cancer person. She came on my show. She's writing a book on Dr. Yellappada Subbarao. He was even I'm from my same town as him. I didn't know until recently about him. So that's his contributions are underestimated. But anyway, he died in sleep, and because he lived longer. Is a stone that in India, inscription in India. So he has in Pfizer. He actually put a library on his name, Dr. Subbarao Library. Pfizer, the Lederle Labs became a Pfizer library, and they did that. So let me tell you, I'm going to change the topic a little bit to our guest. It's a surprise to him a little bit. Santiniketan, a palace for peace. I tell you why I'm talking about it. It's a very different subject. Santiniketan was founded by Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore is a poet. He is a Hindu poet. He is an Indian poet. He won the Nobel Prize in 1913 with a collection of poems. It's called Gitanjali. He wrote a wonderful poem. They're all in Bengali language, Dr. Suresh Mukherji's language. I don't understand, but they're all translated in English. I read a few of them, both just a wonderful, little bit of dark side, a little bit, but it's wonderful. Really, is a deep thinker. He's a very, by nature, he's a curious man. I tell you why I say that. He was Santiniketan is a place for curiosity, intellectual curiosity place. He loved science and humanity. You know what he said is science is concerned with the facts of the universe, poetry with the human interpretation of those facts. That was the connection between the poetry and the universe, science of physics. He said he was introduced to physics, biology. He was a poet, but he introduced all of them in his place. Santiniketan introduced all these subjects, mathematics. He was surrounded by very famous scientists. Actually, C.V. Raman is one of the famous scientists who won the Nobel Prize, Raman spectroscopy, and then Jagdish Chandra Bose. All of them are surrounded by very famous scientists at the time. Who Jagdish Chandra Bose almost invented. He is the father of the Wi-Fi now, Wi-Fi networks. So he was surrounded. Though he is a poet, he was surrounded by very intellectual, scientific people. So he met Albert Einstein. He went to Germany in 1930 and he met Albert Einstein. He disagreed with Albert Einstein in one area, is that the no objective reality. There is no. So Albert Einstein believed that if there is a chair, that is a chair there. There is a table there, there's a table. But what Rabindranath Tagore was a poetic, is a Hindu philosophy, he influenced by that. He did not believe that. He said that there is, at that time, quantum physics just came in. Even though this Albert Einstein initiated quantum physics, he did not believe his implications of the quantum physics. He himself did not like that, particle in two places same time or multiple places same time. He didn't like it. But what Rabindranath Tagore was saying, that unless there is a human mind, or there is some kind of awareness, the reality is not, it doesn't exist. There is no, you cannot separate the reality without a consciousness. You got to have both of them combined. That's what he is think about, that those times he was thinking with his objective reality is not there, and he disputed with the Albert Einstein. Then he met Werner Heisenberg, the father of the quantum physics, uncertainty principle. He met in the Tower of Physics. He wrote, actually, Fritz Capra wrote about him, their conversation. He was, Werner Heisenberg came to India, and then he visited Rabindranath Tagore, and then discussion was that Heisenberg was surprised that quantum physics is such a close to Hindu philosophy, Hindu mind, Hindu religious thought. He was surprised that Maya and all the higher dimensional things. He was really taken back by. He was really surprised by his understanding of. He did not know anything about Hindu philosophy before. Quantum physics was almost that was a very tough. There is no there is no electron exists without it is a wave function. It's all in the cloud, very fuzzy nature of the nature. So he met a lot of quantum physics people and Albert Einstein, and then he said that science without a humanity is dangerous. He said that is a powerful futuristic. He's a truly futuristic guy. He was. That before that, there was Hiroshima, Nagasaki was bombed. After that, actually, he was telling science without humanity is dangerous. He said technology without ethics leads to dehumanization. Now that's what AI is doing. Everybody's worried about that part, AI. Knowledge without a wisdom creates a civilization risk. Maybe if we have knowledge without a wisdom, we may be extinct. We become very extinct. All these concepts are powerful. So, is a love for humanity. Rabindranath Tagore is that place. Our guest now is Dr. Suresh Mukherji is the director and is the advisory board on that place now. He's a present advisor. He was nominated. He was selected as a present advisor to the Santiniketan. It became a university now. It is an intellectual curiosity place. It is still, he inspired millions of people through his poetry and also his science. His thought process is amazing with a scientific mind. Thank you for watching. And then, you can, Dr. Ellapati Subbarao and Dr. Mukherjee, these are the people I love. Let me bring my guest on back. Dr. Mukherjee, yeah, what do you think? Is a Santiniketan directory or advisory board?
Well, it's tremendous honor to be even put in a picture like that. So I have to admit, this is one of the few times I'm somewhat speechless. I don't know what to say. So thank you for doing finding that out. I don't really tell a lot of people, but I'm very blessed and humble that you would make the effort to include me in that beautiful presentation.
No, thank you.
It was
I
a
think
very, very exciting journey, Ramana. You took us for through the whole journey from your hometown, through your family, your father's career, which was just amazing, and then even through some of the world health issues that are still prominent around this world. Maternal and newborn is such a precarious coupling in our world, and what we're doing, and how the World Health is doing an amazing program these days, basic emergency care program. Specifically, but then to pop that journey up to the present and to honor our guests that way was a pretty cool. You always pull it out in the end, Ramana. I don't know, these presentations, sometimes the physics gets a little rough in the middle and you're like, where's it going? And then it ends. Mic drop ending. Strong work.
Yeah.
Well, I was, I know about the Santiniketan Palace. That is about. When I was a kid, I was reading about him. He was actually national anthem. He wrote a Indian national anthem that was written by Rabindranath Tagore. He is one of the things I liked about him is he loved science. That is, people don't know about it, but he was one of the fan of science. He's a poet, but a fan of science. He said that that all art and science is all inseparable. This human nature is. What he said, this very interesting thing, Dr. Mukherjee. He said that nature, the universe, is a living laboratory, a living lab. We are participants. We are not external observers. His philosophy is so deep. I mean, for his times, I cannot believe how deep thinker he was. So you're in that class. We are putting you there. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but I just, I think part of the reason, first of all, I'm always delighted and honored that you would have me back on MedBricks. I just, part of the reason I do it is that when we first met, I've always been impressed by your passion and your curiosity. And like Susan said, you have these very complex and thought-provoking presentations, but at the end, you always bring it home. And each one of your presentations has always been incredibly unique, and I always learn something from them too. I remember after we met last time, you talked to me about Bosch. Ramana has a certain love for my heritage in Bengal, so he mentioned Bose last time, so I learned about the Bose-Higgins particle. I went and read about that. I didn't know that was the same Bose. And then today you had the Santiniketan. Then you actually taught me about Shamisra. That was incredible. 15,000 babies. She was the midwife of the Untouchables, which to me was incredibly touching. So next time I go to Karnataka, I'm going to try to make an effort to find out where she lived and find out more about her. That's what I was Googling as you were talking to. I didn't know anything about that. So like I said, your presentations are always phenomenal. And I've just been delighted the way this whole MedBricks continues to grow and just get better. And, Susan, congratulations on your latest award. And I think Susan brings a fabulous dimension to MedBricks. So, and like I said, thanks for just allowing me to play a small role over the last few years.
Well, thank you so much. I do have to say, after meeting you the last time, and we had a conversation, and of course I stalked you online and I watched some of your teaching to your students. And I have a niece who was interested in going into your field, and I very specifically shared your links and your YouTube channel. And I said, just listen, take a listen, because it's very rare that you come across someone who's so passionate about their craft enough to share, and you share immensely like Ramana does, but in your field. And so I was so moved by your time spent on mentoring outside of your daily work to students specifically, that I persuaded my niece to pay closer attention and hopefully go your path. So thank you.
I appreciate it. I realize I'm smart enough not to I'm not going to create an iPhone, but if you can make the world better, maybe one day at a time with one interaction every day, I'm good to try to do that. So I appreciate that, Susan.
You're doing that already. Thank you so much. Stacy, hang on after the podcast. We can talk. But thank you so much for participating in this. You're always delighted guest for us. Favorite guest for Susan. You talk so many things. It's really educational. You give us a very quantifiable things. You do a lot of. Your talk is always inspiring for all of us. Thank you. It's an honor and privilege to have you, Dr. Mukherji. Good night, all of you. Thank you, Susan, and good night, all of you.
Good night.
Good night.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it.